Welcome to your channel, where words come alive with the magic of storytelling and open minds to new worlds. Here, we weave tales from the fabric of imagination and reality, allowing you to experience adventures that captivate the soul and awaken the imagination. Get ready to dive into a sea of captivating narratives, where every story begins with a new beat that takes you beyond the limits of possibility. Let's get started.
O moon that smiles among the daisies, and branch that sways with the breeze, your forehead, adorned neck, and radiant teeth are a morning within a morning within a morning.
Your words, my love, are like magic that touches my soul and deepens my love for you. My heart beats only for you with an unending passion.
In the city of Homs, Syria, on the banks of the Orontes River, the poet Abd al-Salam ibn Raghban, known by the title Diq al-Jin, was born. He lived for 75 years in the old neighborhoods of the city, where he composed his finest love poems and became renowned for the beauty of his poetry. However, the story that immortalized his name lies not only in his verses, but in his deep and tragic love for a woman named bint al-Naimah. Opinions varied regarding the reason for his nickname, Diq al-Jin. Some linked it to the green color of Abd al-Salam's eyes, while others claimed it was because he mourned a rooster that was slaughtered by Abu Amr Umayr bin Jafar. Another account suggested the name was tied to his madness and imitation of a rooster's crow. However, researchers have confirmed that this claim is false and was added after his death. One day, Diq al-Jin went out with his loyal friend Bakr, wandering through the fields and orchards. They walked aimlessly until they found themselves on land belonging to a Christian monastery. There, a melodious voice reached their ears. Emerging from between the trees, a girl's voice dancing on the breeze. Diq al-Jin felt something tugging at his heart toward this voice, and they approached its source until they were discovered. The girls approached them, and one of them threatened to inform the people of the monastery if they did not leave immediately. The girl spoke with indescribable beauty, and Diq al-Jin, captivated by her, gently asked, "Do you know whose verses you were singing a moment ago?" She confidently replied, "They belong to a poet named Diq al-Jin." He smiled and said, "I am Diq al-Jin." But the girl was not easily convinced, for Diq al-Jin was known for his chivalry and noble deeds, and this man who had snuck into their gathering could not be him. So, the girl replied to him,
"If you are truly Diq al-Jin, then recite for me verses born from your thoughts this very moment." To prove it, she challenged him with confidence.
Tell your beloved to turn away from my bed at the time of sleep, so I may find rest and extinguish a fire that burns deep in my bones, ailing, tossed and turned by hands, on a bed made of suffering. As for me, as you already know, is there no permanence to your union?
A novice could recite that once or memorize the verses. Would you please change the rhyme?
Tell your beloved to turn away from my bed at the time of sleep, so I may find rest and extinguish a fire that burns deep in my heart, ailing, tossed and turned by hands, on a bed of thorny suffering. As for me, as you already know, is there no return for your presence?
The beautiful woman began to be convinced, but she asked him to change the rhyme again to dispel all doubt. He replied,
Tell your beloved to turn away from my bed at the time of rest, so I may find comfort and extinguish a fire that burns in my ribs, ailing, tossed and turned by hands, on a bed made of tears. As for me, as you already know, is there any hope of your return? The girl was amazed by the quickness of his wit and the depth of his words, but she wasn't fully convinced and asked him to change the rhyme again. He complied and improvised new verses with the same beauty and elegance. Each time she requested a change in the rhyme, Diq al-Jin responded with even more beautiful and melodious poetry. In the end, the girl realized that he was indeed Diq al-Jin and fell in love with him just as he had fallen for her from the very first moment.
Diq al-Jin and Ward got married and lived in love and happiness. His friend Bakr was always by their side, seeing his friend's happiness as a reflection of his own. However, this happiness did not sit well with Diq al-Jin's cousin, Abu al-Tayib, who was filled with jealousy and resentment. Abu al-Tayib began visiting Ward's home during Diq al-Jin's absences under the pretext of checking on her. He repeatedly tried to undermine her love for her husband, but she rebuffed him and demonstrated her loyalty to Diq al-Jin. Fearing that his schemes would be exposed, Abu al-Tayib started plotting a diabolical scheme. Diq al-Jin had borrowed a sum of money from his cousin and was unable to repay it, so he decided to travel to Salamiyah to meet the Hashemite prince, Ahmad ibn Ali, in hopes of obtaining the funds. He bid farewell to his wife Ward and his friend Bakr, leaving them in each other's care. Abu al-Tayib seized the opportunity and spread a rumor that Diq al-Jin had been attacked by bandits and killed. The news reached Ward, who was overwhelmed with grief and sorrow. Meanwhile, Bakr came to her home to offer his condolences and comfort. Diq al-Jin returned to Homs to be shocked by his cousin's accusation that Ward had betrayed him with Bakr. Enraged, he stormed into their home to find Bakr and Ward crying together. In a moment of madness, he drew his sword and killed them both. Diq al-Jin sat beside their corpses, weeping and speaking to himself. He wrote his greatest poem in mourning for his wife Ward, in which he said, "O blossom upon which the doves have alighted, and for which fate's fruits were gathered by her hands. The earth was nourished by her blood, and for so long, love was nourished by my lips from hers. My sword has rested on the edge of her sack, and my tears flow upon her cheeks. By the truth of her sandals and the ground they tread, nothing is dearer to me than her sandals. My killing her was not because I wept, if a fly fell upon her." After a while, Abu al-Tayib confessed to Diq al-Jin that he had fabricated the betrayal and that it was all a lie. At that moment, Diq al-Jin collapsed and began mixing his cup of wine with a handful of dirt from Ward's grave and another from Bakr's grave. He drank from it, shedding endless tears, and sang, "O sword, if you cast time with its treachery, then you have exchanged our union for its abandonment, a moon that I brought forth from its darkness, for my affliction and unveiled it from its veil, and I killed it, though it had a dignity, full of my being, and my heart was wholly devoted to it. My last memory of it was as a peaceful sleeper, while sorrow slaughters my eyes in its death. If the dead knew what follows after them, the living would have wept for it in its grave." Bakr's sister was stalking Diq al-Jin, seeking to kill him in revenge for her brother. However, upon hearing these verses, she was moved by his plight and showed him mercy. She responded to him, saying,
"Oh, woe to Diq al-Jin! Or rather, damn him! What treachery has his heart harbored? He killed the one he loved and lived on afterward. O Lord, do not prolong his life."
The poet's departure drew near as he lost all connection with happiness, gradually withering away in grief, sorrow, and pain for the love of his heart and his loyal friend. The last words he spoke before his departure were, "They have departed, and now the body after them. What does the sun do for it in my absence? With what face shall I greet them? If they see me alive after them?" And so our tale comes to an end, where reality and fantasy merge into a single canvas, leaving an indelible mark on our souls. We'll meet again in the next story, where the possible blends with the impossible and new worlds are shaped within the folds of words. Until then, goodbye.